Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening. Thank you for downloading, and thank you for subscribing to the latest edition of the Trial Podcast. I am your boy. Man, check this out. On this episode, what we're going to do is what we've been doing all year long, each month, in honor of HBCUs. You know, I've had someone come on, an HBCU alum, come on and talk about their university. And you see the title. This week's episode and guest is no stranger to me. First time on here on the podcast, but he is an entrepreneur. He's a fellow podcaster. He loves his alma mater. My man Dave is in the building. Dave, what's good, man?
What's going on, Cal? How's things, man? It's been long overdue, man. You owe me. You need to have me on for a rap album. I don't know what you're doing.
You're right.
We're overdue. But nah, I'm happy for the invite, man. To talk about A&T, I'm always happy for the invite for that.
Man, listen, when I came up with the idea of talking about HBCUs, I had an idea of like schools that I wanted to get people from. And when A&T, when I wrote down A&T, I immediately wrote your name because listen, I appreciate it, man. If you guys follow Dave on, and later on he'll give you his Twitter information. If you follow Dave on Twitter, social media just in general, but Twitter is specifically, I don't think I've seen more A&T tweets or HBCU tweets by anybody else on social media. And Dave, I gotta give you your props before we even get started, man. The way there were a bunch of tweets that I never got into. I let you fight those battles, and you fought them valiantly and got a lot of victory. But when you were going back and forth with the alumni from that school in the SWAC that used to employ Deion Sanders during that time when Deion was at Jackson State. Oh my gosh, those battles on Twitter were epic. But yeah, he's a proud alum, and I couldn't think of anybody better to have you on, Dave, man. And we will do a hip hop because me and this guy, this guy is hip hop for real. And we've been talking hip hop for the longest. So I'm glad to have you on, brother. So let's start right there. I always start this episode off with, the title says that you chose North Carolina A&T. So why did you choose North Carolina A&T?
Well, at the time, you're talking, 24 years ago, because I'm celebrating my 20th anniversary graduating from A&T this year. So for me, when it came down to A&T, I knew that I wanted to do something in the STEM fields, and I knew I wanted to get away from Columbia. I'm from Columbia, South Carolina, as you know.
Exactly.
I wanted to get away from Columbia and be outside of the spectrum. So A&T was on my list. Johnson C. Smith was on my list. Benedict was like my last ditch. If I can't get out of Columbia, I'll go to Benedict type of thing. But what attracted me to A&T primarily is like they showed up at a college fair at my high school, Richmond Northeast, and they talked about how they graduated. 3 out of the 10 black engineers in the country were Aggies. So so I said, all right, maybe I'll look into doing comp sci. Computer science was within the college of engineering. My biggest concern was getting in because I didn't really have the greatest grades at the time, but my SAT scores was decent enough to get in. I got over 600 in the math side of the fence, so that got me through. And because back then, unlike now, there was a out-of-state cap. So luckily, I put my app in early enough, and I got picked. Because there was folks who had higher GPAs than me that didn't get in because they put their apps in too late. Because back then they had a cap. That ain't the case no more. A&T back in 2000 was much different than what it is now in 2024. It is a different ball game now. I couldn't get in now if I tried. It was the grades I had. Could not get in. My daughter turned 17 last month, and so she's about to head into her senior year. And I told her what the GPA requirements was at A&T, and I'm like, don't worry, if you can't get in, I understand, because I wouldn't have been able to get in either. But she got the grades to get in, but she should be okay. If she wants to go to A&T, she definitely can get in. But it's changed a lot since I've went. But biggest reason is because of the engineering program. I went to University Day, saw the band. I was hooked after that.
No doubt. So I gotta, just for you guys listening and watching, and thank you for watching on Facebook. He's from Columbia. Now you guys know I'm from South Carolina too. I'm from Florence, And I know the answer to this question because I asked him a long time ago, but I'm going to ask him again since he's here on the podcast. He's from Columbia. Now, if you go down Interstate 26, maybe about 30, 35 miles, you get to a city called Orangeburg. And Orangeburg is where South Carolina State is, which is where I went to school. So Dave is an engineer. So Dave, you said you wanted to get out of Columbia. Why not make the trip down to Orangeburg?
Too close. Too close. Like, it's just it's too close. No, it's just too close. Like, I wanted to get away to the point where, like, it would take some level of effort. Like, Greensboro's 3 hours away. That's, like, perfect. So if an emergency does happen, folks can come get me. But it's far enough so I ain't got to worry about seeing you on a random weekend, too. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just wanted to get away because I've been in Columbia all my life. Orangeburg is an interesting town. I'll say that. I don't want to get slandered by the Orangeburg folks. And the thing is, I got family that went to South Carolina State too. Like, I got HBCUs in my blood. My neighbors went to South Carolina State.
Okay.
Somebody that taught me how to play the trombone went to South Carolina State because the former band director of Keenan High School was my neighbor. Wow. So, and he still volunteers at South Carolina State for the band now.
Wow.
You know, his one of his sons went to South Carolina State. So, I have family members. I have my sister-in-law went to South Carolina State. I have it in my, I got HBCUs in my DNA. So I was going to go to one. That wasn't just it's too close. It's too close.
Understood, man. Understood. Like I said, I think I asked you that question a long time ago when we first started kicking it. And you told me, because I was like, well, how did we let him get away? He's right up the street in Columbia. How did he? But no, that makes sense. And especially at that time.
Fun fact. A South Carolina State alum of yours tried to convince a bunch of South Carolina Aggies to come back to the state at one point.
Not surprised.
He's in Congress right now. There's your clue. This was like, oh God, that was over 20 years ago too. That was about 20 years ago. Give and take. 2002. Yeah. He came. Somebody knew him. That was because we got an organization. So I was a member of South Carolina Aggies, and you know, somebody invited him over, and he was like, so it went from talking about politics and stuff to, hey, why don't you guys head back across to the state? We all looked at him like he was crazy.
Hey man, Clyburn he's a bulldog through and through, man.
Absolutely.
He bleeds with garnet and blue just like I do, man. That is a great story. So coming out of high school, you go to A&T. What was your first memories of just being on the yard? And I mean, like, being on the yard without, mom and dad or whoever dropped you. What was those first moments like being on that campus?
I knew, this is a funny one too. I knew that I was not going to work for UPS as soon as I got on the yard. I don't know what they have down in Orangeburg, but they have a pretty big facility at UPS in Greensboro, to the point where they would pick the kids up. It was like a slave train. They would pick them up and take them to the facility, bring them back. That was their way to get you. Like, they would help you unpack your dorm, and then they'd be like, "Hey, you want to work for UPS?
Wow,
pay you $15 an hour." And back then, $15 an hour ain't bad.
A lot of money.
That's a lot of money. So I just remember my mother was like, "Why don't you go and work for them?" And I'm like, "Nah, I'll be broke. I'm good. That seems like a painful job. I'm good. I'll figure it out." But now, one of the first things I did, I mean, just chilling on the yard, man. All the girls, all the students, getting the wisdom from the upperclassmen, because that's like the key. Like, I tell folks all the time, the key to surviving college is getting the wisdom from the upperclassmen, the ones that know. Like, I think that's a lost art nowadays. I don't know if that's happening as much as it used to back then. But like, the knowledge you get from alumni that are still like working there potentially, and the upperclassmen that are still students, is valuable. But one place I used to go all the time, one of the first places I went when I was a student, was the student union. And I'm a big gamer, so like, I get my games in. Spades. I never played pool, but I played a lot of spades and I played a lot of hearts. Like, we used to have a tournament down there. We used to have a tournament, and the winner got to go to Tennessee to compete. So it was like, so the spades players there were serious. Like, they had trophies. They would go down there.
So you could win a spades tournament and go to Tennessee? Wow.
Oh yeah, we were serious down there with it, bro. And the thing is, and I was a decent spades player when I first got there, but I got leveled up when I got there, because I learned, like, there's so many other intricacies of it. Like, there's like, everybody else does the simple stuff, but it's like there's other things that you can do to enhance it. And like, so, and I thought it was like when they was talking about, oh yeah, man, we got the tournament, the winner gets to go to Tennessee. I thought it was a joke. And I was like, nah, because my partner went his senior year and they won the tournament, brought home medals.
Wow.
I was like, oh, I see you, bro.
A real live spades tournament.
Well, now they got the World Series of Spades.
Yeah.
So man, we blew it, man. We all blew it. All our black schools blew it. We could have had like a super spades invitation. Had like all of them do a tournament, champion, and then just find do it in Atlanta and just sponsor them. It would be huge, man, because World Series of Spades is pretty dope. I entered the tournament at the Roots Picnic the last 2 years. I almost won the damn thing last year.
They had a spades tournament at the Roots Picnic. Now, for you guys listening, watching, Dave doesn't miss a Roots Picnic.
Last year was my last one, so I'm not going anymore.
You're not going back?
Oh, done, bro. It's gotten too big, bro. It's gotten too big. It's ridiculously big now. Like when I first was going, it was like 2 stages. Like I started going at the 4th one. It was like 2 stages, and so you can catch every single act. That was the beauty of it. You caught there was 20 acts. You caught all of them. You just go back and forth from the stages. When it got to 3, it got tougher. Now there's like 4 of them.
Yeah.
There's a podcast stage. There's 3 music stages. I just told you there's a spades tournament there. It is huge now. It's ridiculous now. And so now it gets to the point where there's guys you want to see and you got to make decisions. And I don't mind making decisions, but I would rather see everybody. Like if I gotta choose between Kirk Franklin or Black Thought's mixtape.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I want to see both. I want to get my Jesus and my bars. Like, I can't do it.
Can't do it.
Can't do it.
Man, that's crazy. I have yet to make it to a Roots Picnic, man. But Dave,
if you've never gone, you should go.
You're the first person I know that went. Like, and this been what, 10 years ago, maybe?
I've been going for a minute. Like, I went. They went to New York. They did New York once. They did a 2-dayer in New York, and that was pretty dope. You know, and that was easy for me. That's a drive for me. But But nah, I've been going since 2011.
Okay. 2011. It's been a minute.
Yeah.
When you got to A&T, and I always ask this question because I think some students have this moment, some don't. Did you ever have that moment where you thought you were going to have to call home and say, "Hey, come and get me"? Like, I mean, like, get me, like I'm homesick.
No, I think for me, the biggest challenge I had as a student when I first got there was making sure I had the finances to stay.
Okay.
Like that was the biggest challenge for me because, you know, when I first got to A&T, I had no scholarships. So it was either grants or loans. Wow. So for me, it was about the finances to stay. I didn't start getting scholarships till my sophomore year because my grades were not like my grades in high school when I got to college. They were much better, vastly improved. Right.
Okay.
So I started getting scholarship money, and because I was in college engineering, the scholarship money started coming. And then after my sophomore year, I got my tuition and books taken care of by the company that I currently work for now. So it worked out in the end. Okay. But like the first 2 years for me, it wasn't about whether or not I want to call, say I'm homesick. Matter of fact, the one time I wanted to call home to get a ride, it was an interesting conversation I got. I called my mother. I'll never forget this. I called my mother. Hey, I said, we got break coming up. I need you to come pick me up because they wouldn't allow us to stay in the dorms. And her quote was, "Go find somebody from Columbia to catch a ride home, and you can get the car to come back." That was that, yo. And so I did find somebody from Columbia.
Yeah.
And I caught a ride home. I thought she was joking initially. Yeah. No, I'll make it happen. But fortunately, because of ironic enough, I met folks in the union. I played a lot of space with a lot of folks. I met folks from Columbia, and it worked out. But it's just things like that. So I wasn't really like my goal was to not come home. Like I tried to find a job during the summer so I didn't have to come home. I worked at IBM my first summer. And I worked in Rhode Island the other 2. Like I did not want to come home. I only came home for holidays. So that was the goal. Like I wanted to kind of be out. You know, I wasn't like at the home. There's a lot of kids that weren't. There were a lot of students that were like, yeah, I'm going home this weekend. Go watch clothes or do whatever. Because at the time then, in-state, there was a lot more in-state students at A&T at the time. Much higher percentage than there is now.
Yeah. It's now when you compare like what North Carolina A&T is now as opposed to when we were in school, it's night and day, totally night and day. As far as classes, man, what was the easiest class that you had?
Badminton.
Stop it. There you
dog. Dog.
Took a badminton class.
So here's the thing. Here's the thing. As a freshman, you kind of get what's left.
Right.
That's like you're gonna get all right, you're a computer science major. All right, you gotta take intro to comp sci. You gotta take computer programming 1. Oh, you're comp sci. All right, you gotta take these maths. History was tough. I went to Midlands Technical College before I went to T to take one of the history classes because they didn't have none for me at the time. So I took world history from Midlands Tech and they transferred it over.
Okay.
But for gym, all was left was 8 a.m. badminton. The hardest part of badminton was to get in there at 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock, yeah.
That was the hardest part. Like, because the thing is, the badminton professor was a football coach.
Okay.
And it was in the fall, so it was during the football season. All I had to do was write a paper, be there, show up 8 o'clock, and then when the season was over, he was done because at that point he had to go recruit. So he was like, and that was when Coach Bill Hayes was the head coach at A&T.
Yeah, shout out to Coach Hayes.
Yeah, Coach Hayes. So near the end of the semester, he just was like, classes are done, write the paper, and spring it to my office type of thing. And that was it.
Wow.
So, but we played badminton. I learned how to play badminton for a bit. And at one point I was in badminton, but badminton. It was badminton by far. I mean, non-gym class, probably film and culture.
Okay.
Film and culture. That was my senior year. I was pledging film and culture. It was something that didn't require me to come to class.
So, conversely, what was the hardest class at A&T?
God. I'm going to do a tie. Physics 1 and differential equations. Physics 1 was every day with the lab. So like there's 5 days a week in a lab, right? And there was one time where I asked the chair of computer science at the time, it was Dr. Williams at the time, and I asked her, hey man, why the hell we got to take physics every day and only get 3 credit hours? And his response was, well, I can call the physics department and see if we can get 5 credit hours. And everyone was like, no, don't do that.
I know that's right.
So that one was tough. And differential equations was hard. And I think the biggest reason why is because of the professor, he didn't believe in reteaching old stuff. So like, and he was so good at differential equations where he would skip all the trig and all the calculus in it. He would go straight to the differential equations part. So if you didn't know how to do the other 2, you weren't going to survive. And it was bad. Like we had cats getting 2s on tests, 10s on tests. It was bad, man. It was tough. Yeah, it was tough. Like if there was one class that had me rethinking my major, it was that one. It was that one. And it wasn't even a comp sci class. That's the crazy part. It wasn't even a comp sci class. But
so it wasn't something but it was something you had to take though, right?
Yeah, it was required, yeah. Okay. But when freshmen came in, and once I became an upperclassman and freshmen came in, I always told them there's some classes within your major that could do you in comp sci, and there's also classes outside of the major that could do you in. So it's important to structure it right so you can keep your mental health intact. Like you can't take physics, differential equations, and data structures all at the same time. That's suicide. Like you ask for too much. Like you ask for too much. Like you can't do that. So you gotta strategize and split that up and still be able to continue on time. If you put the wrong combo in or your rhythm gets messed up, it's gonna be tough sledding. Because there's some folks that took differential equations 3 times.
Wow.
Yeah. Like you don't want to take physics twice, like because that is because the problem with physics is the amount of time that you got to be in that lecture. That's what makes physics a pain. And we had the guy that invented web of science, like the digital homework that's so famous.
Right.
Now. He did his dissertation on web of science.
Wow.
Yep.
That's crazy.
So he gave them out every day. And anytime he wouldn't give us a web of science, we all applauded him. That means we didn't have work to do.
Right.
But when you take a guy every day and he's giving you assignments every day, it's a lot.
Yeah, it gets you prepared. It definitely gets you prepared. That's for sure. What guys listening and watching don't understand, or maybe some of you do, given the fact that I went to South Carolina State and Dave went to North Carolina A&T, our schools are rivals. I mean, like big rivals. Whatever Duke, Carolina, whatever rivals you can think of, that's us. Unfortunately, well, when we were in school, we were competing against each other in all sports. But fortunately, I should say, A&T left the conference and moved on to another conference. And I saw you, Dave, you sent out a lot of tweets, very vocal about it. In fact, I just saw you going back and forth, I think, with somebody from South Carolina State, like maybe 2 days ago, Jay.
Yeah, Jay's my guy
from South Carolina. Yeah, I don't. He's younger than me. I don't know him, but I've seen him in like a couple of SC State Facebook groups and stuff like that. But A&T, man, what was the overall vibe on just kind of explain to the listeners and the viewers, like, and just an average day on the campus, because like it has a certain mystique, and we'll talk about a homecoming of sorts in just a second. That'll be my second question. But what was the vibe like on campus each day?
There could be a party in any part of that yard, like at any time, right? I think they've kind of kept that going. But overall, man, A&T, the vibe, it ultimately depends on what school you're in too. The joke is, because in North Carolina we actually did have snow days, so sometimes we would close. So the running joke is, when there's a snow day and A&T's closed, the Crosby kids are out here just sledding down, enjoying the snow, snowball fights, holding on, and the engineers is over here trying to figure out how to open the dang on doors and get work done. So it all depends on what school, but like, I think for me, as being part of the college engineering, it was more about you had to manage your time. It was critical. Like, I tried to party. I partied when I could, and I was a good time manager when it came to it. One time I got front row seats to the Roots the day of, and I had midterms the next day, and I went. So you do what you're
supposed to go.
Yeah, man. I met Knife Wonder that night. Crazy enough too. Kind of wild, but he was DJing.
That's what's up.
But
that's crazy.
But now the vibe on campus overall, I mean, it's typically a chill vibe, but there's always something going on. There's always events. I mean, like, I remember one time, man, I was just trying to, like, I lived off campus my final 3 years. I was just trying to go home, and the Deltas wouldn't allow it because they were doing their probate in the parking lot. So I couldn't leave move my car. So I had to watch the probate, which was cool. Some of my friends was on the line. It was cool. It was 97 of them. It was cool.
How many were they?
97.
Wow.
Yeah.
We had one year, I think 105.
I believe it.
I don't know. I didn't go to that probate, but I knew a few.
Yeah. Now that like,
I mentioned,
you got and of course you got the bands, Blue and Gold Market Machine. They marching all over the place. Like, it is always something going on that campus from that standpoint.
Now, wait a minute. I know you mentioned the trombone early. Were you in the band?
No, not at T. No.
Okay.
I probably could have walked on though. I didn't play in high school either, but I probably could have walked on. I was pretty good.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure I could have walked on if I wanted to. I could not. Like, I needed scholarship money, and I wasn't gonna do that for free. Like, I give to the Blue and Gold Market Machine because I understand what it takes. I see them.
Yes.
They work as hard, if not harder, than our athletes do. Like, we got them trainers this year, from what I understand. Like, they're gonna have trainers this season.
Really?
Yeah, they're gonna have trainers.
That's what's up.
Yeah, they're gonna have trainers this season. So
I mean, it's deserved. It's one of the best bands in HBCU history. I mean, that's not. I mean, and currently one of the best bands in the country. I mean, that's. I don't think I can't even. As much as I love the Marching 101, I got to give my props to that band. And I've heard A&T play several times, and seeing them and hearing them on TV is one thing. Being in a stadium with them, something totally different. They make you feel it. You know what I'm saying? Speaking of bands, I gotta talk about Homecoming.
It's Homecoming on Earth.
That's what they call it. They call it, if you follow people on social media, you'll see in some weekend in October, you'll see hashtag GHOE, GHOE, the greatest homecoming on earth. Tell me why that is the greatest homecoming on earth, because everybody says they have a great homecoming. I can actually vouch and say that y'all have probably one of the livest homecomings I've ever been to in my life. And we have a great homecoming. I'm not even going to front of my school, but the name is earned. What's your take on homecoming, man?
Homecoming is 8 days, man. Jeez. It starts on Sunday and ends on Sunday.
Wow.
It's 8 days. Like, and whenever I tell folks that, they look at me like I'm crazy. But I'm like, no. It's 8 days.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when the pandemic happened, I said, if A&T cancels homecoming, this shit is serious.
Right.
And they canceled homecoming. Like, oh yeah, okay. This pandemic might be real. I was like,
That's what
great
you
things
were
are going right now, man. They got to cancel homecoming. The next thing I know, A&T's like, yep, GHOE's gone. But I think what makes, like, the thing about GHOE is it's the atmosphere, and like, and you see the phases, right? Like I said, it starts on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
But once everybody, like, it's one thing with the students, because the beginning it's about the students, right?
Mm-hmm.
Fashion shows, comedy show, all that, right? But then eventually you're going to get close to that weekend.
Yes.
And then the alums get here. And then once Friday hits, so Friday you got the step show. Step show's not done on campus. It's done at the Coliseum. It's the same place where the AC tournaments played. Like, it's not done. It's not done. It's not done in the yard anywhere. It's not on campus. You gotta head to the Greensboro Coliseum. Mm-hmm. And what they used to do, and I hope they're bringing this back. They used to do a concert after step show.
Good old days.
So like Jill Scott would perform at the venue like downstairs of the Coliseum, and do a crazy, like, one year I saw Erykah Badu, another year I saw Jill Scott. Like, after, and they literally wait till after the step show's over before they come on stage.
Wow.
So it's pretty. It's a as an alumnus, it's a dope transition to go from the step show to that, right? Mm-hmm. But so then you got the game. This year we had the game televised all over downtown Greensboro.
Okay.
Like, we took over the downtown area, like the city of Greensboro. Like, I always compare, when people talk about how great their homecomings are, I always remind them that, is your homecoming great because of the city it's in, or is it because of y'all? Because that matters, right? Because some people, when they talk about their homecoming, they're like, oh, well, it's in Atlanta. You can do whatever in Atlanta. They ain't about us, though.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So I think that's important. Like, a lot of the activities we do, like, there's some things that are off campus, but it's us. It's on our yard. Like the game, all the festivities on the yard. And when last year, bro, we had 80,000 people on the yard. Like,
that's crazy.
Insanity last year. Like, and it's funny because, like, I'm a Sigma. So we have the benefit of having our plots. So we can grow on the plot. And it was crazy because we ran into the police officers, and I guess this year Greensboro A&T decided that they're going to make sure they got enough police force to make sure there's no incidents that happen.
Of course,
which makes sense. But they had police officers from all over the state, like because A&T's homecoming isn't just a big thing for A&T; it's a big thing for the city and the state of North Carolina. Mm-hmm. Like, it's one of for Greensboro, it's their biggest event of the year.
No question.
Like, there's not even close.
Revenue generator.
Oh my God, yes. So it's a big event. It is a phenomenal. But I think what makes we pretty much own the city for that entire week. Mm-hmm. It's our city for the entire week. There's no debate about it. There's no conflicts about it. If you had somebody coming, even if they weren't an official A&T event, they're there because of homecoming.
Wow. Like,
and that's just what happens. You get random, like, you got the school sponsored events, and then you got all these other cats that are probably getting a cut in it too. So, like, it's constant jubilation for an entire week. We pretty much own the city, man. And that's what makes the homecoming so beautiful. It'd be nice if we win the game too, But now the game has turned into another thing, because now we got a concert during the game too. We had like a 3-hour concert. Like, so I don't know if have you ever been to A&T Stadium?
Yeah.
All right, you've been to Aggie Stadium.
Played against y'all.
Oh yeah. So when you walk into Aggie Stadium, right, like, before you get into the stadium, there's like a game zone. Mm-hmm. There's a game zone.
Yes. They
set up a stage in the game zone, and they had like a full concert there, because now when you're in the game zone, you can go in and out of the game. So you had to buy a ticket to get to that concert, and it was like an old school concert, like Big Daddy Kane. Like, it was dope. It was really dope how they set that up. So you had the concert, then there was tailgaters in the gate. There's tailgaters around the gate. There's tailgaters outside of the gate. There's tailgaters on the yard. There's tailgaters everywhere across the campus. So there's no shortage of that. So it's just, you're not got to worry about getting fed. Then you got the World War Memorial Stadium. So they got vendors there, tailgaters there. Like, we just take over, man. Pop-up shops all over the place. Take the whole city over.
It's
great.
I got to get back up there, man. I haven't been since we played my senior year. No, that was my junior year. We played up there and we won. And I remember I didn't even come back with the team. I stayed in Greensboro. And you know what's funny, Dave? I don't even remember how I got back to Orangeburg. I went to was it Greek Fest? It was some joint. Some mega party, but it was crazy. I went to a mega party and a Kappa party like in the same night. And I'm not in any Greek fraternity, but I was just enjoying the scene, man. We had a ball. I think I got fired or something, but I just I enjoyed my time on that campus, man. Listen, it was crazy.
It's insane, man. Like it's funny because now the past couple of years I've been staying at the host hotel. So now they got a shuttle to take you there, which is a godsend.
Okay.
So I ain't got to worry about figuring out how the heck to get back because traffic is insane near the campus. Then I don't even talk about the parade in the morning, which a lot of times back when I was younger, I never would make it to the parade for a multitude of reasons. Because the parade's at like 8 o'clock in the morning, so it's like it's
an all day thing. I mean, you get the parade, and then just like any other HBCU, if you're on the yard, you better stay on the yard because
when you're a student,
80,000.
When you're a student, is optimal nowadays because you pretty much got the best seat in the house. Because if you want to catch the parade, you can. If you stay on campus, if you went to the step show the night before, you'll be back at your dorm. It's perfect. All you gotta do is wake up and walk outside. You can just enjoy the festivities for the next 24 to 48 hours before we close out. We close out with a gospel concert on Sunday. So,
man, listen,
get your Jesus in before you go home.
You're right. It is a sight. Like I said, and I got nothing but love and respect for them. They're now. I will say this much: when I was in school, I wanted to beat them every time. But you know what? To be honest, and I think I told you this before, like. A&T was the school that you circled on the calendar. Like as soon as the schedule come out, we already know, like we're alternating each year. And then by the time I was a senior, that's when we started playing in Charlotte. We played in Memorial Stadium in Charlotte. And then after that, the subsequent years we played at Panther Stadium. But yeah, you circled A&T on the calendar because you knew that it was going to be hard for our game. You mentioned fraternity earlier. Sigma. Why Sigma?
I mean, for me, I was a comp sci guy. A lot of the guys I hung out with were Sigmas. And I just thought it was the best fit at the time. And I was cool with those guys. And it's wild because I crossed my senior year. So, like, there's two classifications where it's hard to get in most fraternity sororities is your freshman year and your senior year. So, so I thought at the time, and, like, my line brothers love them to death. We're celebrating our 20th this year, so we going to go to Vegas and have a ball. It's weird now because now a lot of us got wives. Some don't. Some got girlfriends, so we're gonna see how it goes. But now,
are y'all bringing your wives?
Yeah, man. I didn't approve that, but I only have one vote. Because I'm not married anymore. I'm divorced, so like I don't really necessarily approve.
Telling us that.
Yeah. So for me, but I understand, because some of them are sorors too, so that's cool.
Okay,
it works out. And then we're inviting our line sisters too, so we'll see how it goes, man. It should be a good event. We'll make sure nobody lose all their money in Vegas.
Right. Yeah, you gotta make sure that happens. Man, before we get out of here, Dave, I gotta ask you, and something I ask everybody that comes on the podcast, particularly when we're talking about HBCUs, if you're speaking to and I know this is right up your wheelhouse, if you're speaking to a high school student, and they are interested in making the journey to Greensboro, why should they choose North Carolina A&T University?
That's easy, man. Besides the fact that we're the best institution on the planet Earth, we're also the largest HBCU in the country. If you're in engineering, we graduate more black engineers than any school in the country. That's any school in the country, not just any black school in the country. Any school in the country. We graduate more black engineers than any other institution in the country. We're also in the top 5 in journalism, visual arts, STEM, across the board. That's our swim lane from that standpoint. Greatest homecoming on earth, one of the baddest bands in the land. It's the vibe, man. It's nothing like that you experience from that standpoint. So for me, it's if you wanna go to a phenomenal university, teach you everything you need to know, guaranteed to get you a job for the most part. Like most folks, they walk out of here with a gig. Like most folks have multiple gigs to choose from. Right. I mean, A&T is the way to go. Like A&T's career fair is so great that Duke students, Chapel Hill students, NC State students, UNCG students come to ours. Like, that's how many corporations come looking for our students. That isn't going to change because we got some of the best schools on earth. So absolutely, you come to A&T for that because it's about the experience and it's about making sure you're getting out of there, getting a gig too.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And one thing I will say, they have this saying called Aggie Pride. They are very proud alums. They are very proud. And I don't know any bad alums. I'll put it like that. Every alum that I've gotten to know over the years, especially through social media, cool as hell. And I was, and for the most part, I'm always like, you know what, I could have went to school with them. Like, because you have the certain, I guess, idea of what people are or what they might be. Because, if you think about Howard or Hampton, you might, they're kind of bougie or whatever. But that's not necessarily the case. And I think ultimately, as all of us as HBCU alums, we all want to see each other do well. Because Absolutely. When A&T does well, South Carolina State does well. Now, I will say this, and we've said this before on the podcast. We will joke each other. But you can't joke us if you ain't one of us.
It's gonna be fun. Like right after this, I'm doing HBCU nightly, and let me tell you something, bro. Yes. It's gonna be. I'm gonna have some fun tonight, man. After what the heck going on with FAMU, I'm gonna have some fun tonight.
You know what, man? I need to tap into that because I was late to that story, and I've
been peaceful all this time. I just want you to know that I've been very peaceful.
So you gonna choose violence?
Yeah, I've been very peaceful. I have. I've been very peaceful. No, I have. I've been very peaceful. I was hoping that it was legit, but it's not. So it's time to choose violence.
But again, just like I always say, man. I mean, like if it's a negative light on a school like FAMU, it's a negative light on HBCU.
Yeah,
breath.
And that's and for me, and I know we're going further about it, but that's the rub for me, right? Because I was hoping that it was legit, primarily because if it wasn't legit, I know we're not a monolith. We're not a monolith. The general public assumes that we are. And that's the dilemma. When things like that happen to the number one public HBCU in the country, according to U.S. News and Report, they're going to look at all of us like, then what are y'all? And that's my rub right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's my rub right now. And I think the president of FAMU has done an outstanding job. He's done a lot of good things. But this one thing, like, some people are like, oh, he's got to go. And I'm like, no, he's not going nowhere. Do you know how hard it is to get a phenomenal leader at an HBCU? It's hard.
It is.
Especially at a public one.
Trust me, I know.
Hard. It is. You know. Heck yeah, my cousin was there when they were talking about doing all that craziness. My cousin was at South Carolina State.
I had 5 presidents. No, I had 4 presidents in the 5 years that I was there. And one of the presidents that was there after I left, Dr. Andrew Hugheni, left and went to Alabama A&M, which is where my son ended up graduating from. So, I got a chance to see at Alabama A&M what we could have had at South Carolina State, but that's another. Yeah, I'll go on a tangent about that.
Nah, I mean,
I got to tap HBCU nightly though, for real.
I had a me and my partner Malcolm, we got a separate show called MD that we do. It's just more of a funny show. It's a funny show, but we talk about HBCU stuff too and some other topics outside of HBCU.
Okay.
I mean, HBCU nightly is primarily squarely on football, but occasionally my man Josh who went to that school down in Durham. He's more of a, he's a business guy. He went to the school of business, so he focused on the business aspect of sports too. But it's primarily a football type of show, and I wanted to do something that was kind of outside of that. Like we got folks about to compete in the track championships this up soon. So they just announced the list. Those are the type of things I like to talk about and things of that sort.
I like how, and I don't want this to get lost, how he said the school in Durham. Folks, he's not referring to Duke.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. Or the school down the road. It's just, And
again, this is Michigan, Ohio State. It's that type of hate. Like,
oh, yeah.
And he's talking about North Carolina Central. But I
got a sound for y'all, man. I got a sound for y'all.
Uh-oh.
I hate y'all. I do anything but place y'all.
I got sounds for some of the folks. So it's I mean, I want them to flourish too, just not as high as us. They can fly to a point until their feathers get clipped. But it's cool. or their wings. They're not feathers, wings. So their wings get close.
Same, man.
They're buzzers or whatever they are. But you know, it is what it is.
Man, listen, I found myself at this past year's Celebration Bowl actually rooting for Florida A&M because one of my boys is a coach.
I was rooting for Howard, man.
I couldn't go against my boy. I just couldn't. But that's the first and only time I ever found. And you know what? I actually rooted for A&T when y'all played in the Celebration. That's the only time. You know, you root for the conference. I could put.
Well, I mean, I'm not in the we only play bowl in the conference now, so it's like I just pick between the two.
Can I be honest for a second? I really hate the fact that I don't mind the fact that y'all left the conference, but I hate that we don't play y'all no more.
Well, we're playing y'all this year.
I know, but and I'm glad. I'm glad because again, that's the game that football, basketball. When we were in school, that's the game we circled on the calendar. The A&T when we were playing against North Carolina A&T in basketball, it was one of the few games where you had to go to the start of the girls' game because if you didn't, you weren't going to get a seat. And we don't have a big arena, but like like dudes got the haircuts, girls got fly, everybody had gear. Like you had to get ready for that game because the A&T game was the premier basketball game when we played against y'all.
Yeah, I wanted to keep playing y'all in football. I think that was the biggest thing when it came to this moving out of the MEAC was, are we going to still play our rivalry games?
Mm-hmm.
And as long as that continued, I don't think folks were going to feel away. I think when I hear folks say, oh, well, we're not playing all the HBCUs, and I said, well, the numbers show you only went to 2 of them. 3 of them if you count Winston-Salem State, right? I mean, I'm going to keep it a buck with you. Like that's what I always tell folks. I'm like, we go to the South Carolina State game. Well, we'll go to Norfolk State, too, because of the bands, too, right? Because the bands is insane. But, like, Norfolk State, South Carolina State, and the school in Durham. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're playing Winston for the first time in almost 15 years this season.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm flying down for that. I've never gone to an A&T Winston game because when I was a student, we didn't play Winston.
Yeah, you didn't. That's right.
We didn't play Winston because at that point, they were in the CI. We were in the MEAC, so we could only, and at the time, school in Durham was also in the CI. We didn't want to play 2 CI schools, CIAA schools.
Makes sense.
So it was the one in Durham, not the one up the street. But this is our first time playing because the last time we played them, we were both in the MEAC, if I recall, because that was when they had their little stint in the MEAC.
Right.
Or they were in transition out of the MEAC, whatever.
One last question before I get you out of here, man. I mentioned earlier, you know, I saw you go to war with some alums when talking about Coach Prime. Obviously, Coach Prime had 2 years at Jackson State and was supposed to be the quote-unquote savior of HBCU football, and he subsequently left. After getting beat by South Carolina State.
I was rooting for y'all there.
Hey, but we appreciate it. I was at that game.
He picked y'all to win that game, too, and I explained why, and folks thought I was crazy. Y'all beat the brakes off of them.
That game, it wasn't even close, Dave. And I enjoyed when I tell you they outnumbered us in fans, maybe probably about 2-1.
Oh, their fan base is rabid. Look, when it comes to fan bases, there ain't too many as crazy as Jackson State. I throw the jokes at Jackson State, but their fan base, good when they're good, when it comes to football, I want to be clear on that.
Mm-hmm.
Whether they're good or bad, that fan base is loyal. They go to them games, and I will always give them credit for that.
Yes,
always.
Yes. So what do you think Coach Prime is going to do in his second year at Colorado?
He's going to lose to North Dakota State. I'll tell you that.
Wait a minute, they're playing them this year?
Yep.
Wow.
Oh, they're going to lose to North Dakota State. I need to get my behind the road to Twin River right now to put my money on it because I think they're 7.5 point favorites. Yeah, they're gonna lose. Okay. They're gonna lose North Carolina State.
So let me ask you this: does he coach at Colorado after this season? Because I don't think he does.
If he gets fired after this year, Colorado's never going to hire a black coach ever again. This is the 3rd black coach in a row they've hired.
Yeah, crazy, right?
Yeah, I mean, he leaving after his son gets drafted anyway. I don't know why we're like having these crazy discussions about if he's going to stay or go. Like, let's not do this.
Right.
Deion, and I said this, and this is why I had the back and forth with the Jackson State folks back then. Deion don't care about nobody else but Deion. That is Deion. That is who he is.
Always. And that's what he's going to be.
And that's who he's going to be. And did he help some aspects of Jackson State? Yes. Yes, he did. Mm-hmm. But you ask yourself, this is a very important question. From an HBCU space standpoint on Twitter, do you think it's gotten better since he's left? No, it hasn't. It's more toxic than it ever has been. It was already toxic before, but now it's gone to an extreme level. Because whenever something happens with him or something related to him, somehow these bots show back up and be like, hey, I'm back. Like, it's just, so for me, I understood why. And if what he said when he first got there was a believable statement, then sure. Mm-hmm. But we all knew that it wasn't going to necessarily end clean. It wasn't going to end clean like it should have. Like, folks, when Tamika Reed left to go to Charlotte, they try to compare it to Prime. And I'm like, there's no comparison.
No, it's not the same.
No comparison.
Reed never said she was the savior of college.
No, she was out there she was just out there dominating that conference. That's all she was doing. She was dominating that conference. She's from the area. She's Jackson State through and through. And she decided that there was other opportunities and there's other things that she wanted to aspire to be. And so she made a decision to go. And props to her. And I'm rooting for her in Charlotte.
Right.
I really am. I'm rooting for her, man. So I'm looking forward to see how that goes. There I will be watching. I will be paying attention to see how Charlotte does because I'm rooting for her. I want her to do well over there, man. Because I think that it says something when you see other programs take from your ranks. Like when A&T lost, when Coach Ross decided to leave the A&T track program to go to Tennessee. Like, those are the type of things you want to see.
Yo, that was, and I didn't even tweet you. I saw your tweets, man. Ooh, it was a battle. Boy, you were having some battles. And what's funny is, like, I would refresh and your tweets would always be at the top. I'm like, man, Dave going in today.
No, I mean, I try to pick my spots, man, because, like, you know, I haven't really talked about the FAMU stuff on Twitter yet. Mm-hmm. Like I said, I'm trying to be nice. I'm trying to be
nice, Dave. Be nice.
I'm trying. Like, you know, like, just like I really haven't, like, especially when it comes to like hip hop too. Like, I tend to wait. So I think now it's time for me to start having that discussion about what happened between, like hardcore about Kendrick. Now that some time has ran by and things have happened.
Yeah, because now we had a chance to breathe.
Yeah, now we got to breathe it in, figure out what happened. He's puzzled. Got Moles out here. Got the Riddler out here. Showing stuff like now we got more material to build like an informed opinion about this whole thing.
No doubt. Before we get you out of here, man, tell folks where they can find you, where they can find the podcast. This guy is also a huge Carolina Panthers fan, and like I said, you definitely want to follow him on social media, man. Tell folks where they can find you, Dave.
So yeah, man, you can follow me on Twitter at champd1012. That's my personal Twitter handle. I'll talk hip hop there, Panthers, HBCUs, sports in general, gaming, everything that's my handle. So I'll go at it on any random thing that I feel like talking about that day. I do have a podcast that covers the Carolina Panthers. We're the largest independent podcast on YouTube. It's called Panther Nation Podcast. You can follow that handle on Twitter at Panther Nation PC. My partner typically posts there. But that's also where we put our content and things of that sort. But we're on YouTube, over 22,000 subscribers. Phenomenal show. We go live every Tuesday at 8 o'clock. I also have an HBCU show called MD that we just started a few weeks ago. We go live Sunday nights at 8 p.m. We didn't have a show this week because it was Mother's Day, but we go live every Sunday for now at 8 p.m. I think we're about to go on break soon, and then we're going to come back on Mondays. Once the football season, when we get closer to the football season.
I was about to say, how you gonna go Sunday night?
No. I'll do a show on Sunday. I could care less. I might put my fantasy show on Sunday. I'm gonna figure that out for PNP. We're gonna figure that out. And then there's HBCU Nightly that goes live on Thursday nights right now, and they're gonna go on break in a couple weeks. They're live right now actually on YouTube. So just Google HBCU Nightly. That's where you can find the MD show. That's where you can find HBCU Nightly, and then you can also Google Panther Nation Podcast and find us there. We got some pretty good interviews up there. We just dropped a Jalen Copeland interview, who's an undrafted free agent from Holy Cross, which I'm pretty high on. I think he's got a shot to make the roster for Carolina. But we cover the Panthers primarily. We go to ins and outs of the team, our beefs. We're not media, so we kind of can do things that most media outlets cannot say. So it's a pretty raw show from that standpoint, and that's the way we want to keep it. And I think that adds to the credibility of the show too. So just check us out, man. I'm all over the place, you know. But if you want to talk to me, Twitter, champd1012.
No doubt. With Dave, it has been a pleasure. Like you said, long time coming. We got to get you back on to talk hip hop because again, this guy is huge hip hop head. If you guys been watching and listening you long enough, you probably know where to find me. But if not, the 12 Kyle podcast drops every Thursday at midnight. From time to time, we drop bonus episodes on Sundays at midnight as well. If you want to follow me on socials, hit me up at 12 Kyle podcast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Threads. TikTok is 12 Kyle podcast. And if you feel so inclined, if you want to throw us a couple of dollars, listen, I'll take your money. $, TWELVEKYLE. And also we have merch in the description box. You can buy 12 Kyle podcast hoodies, t-shirts, mugs, whatever you want, posters. We got it all. Again, so for my man Dave, I am your boy 12 Kyle, and this has been another edition of the 12 Kyle podcast. We'll catch you next time. Bye.